Welcome to Complexity Made Simple. My name is Paul Allen, and before we get on to today's video, just a reminder of how you can support the channel. Please subscribe, please leave comments on all the videos because that really does help. But if you want to support the channel further, there is a donation page. Please go to Buy Me a Coffee and leave a donation, which is always fantastically helpful. Keeps the channel moving and allows me to make all of this fresh material. But if you want a textbook that contains all the good stuff from the videos, please click on the link and buy, drink tea and read the paper from lulu.com. All of these things really help the channel. Thank you to all the people that continue to buy this textbook. It really is fantastically helpful. Now let's get on to today's video. Welcome to the latest video, and in this video newsletter what we're going to do is continue the discussion about standard work and how it is the centerpiece of lean implementation. So yesterday I released a video which said lean, the centerpiece of lean, is all about standard work. And now we know that, we can revisit some of the other videos that I've released where I talk about level scheduling and why that is the first thing you have to do. You've got to walk into your production planning department and you've got to stop, have a hunch, build a bunch, planning. You have to put standard work there first. So let's talk about this. 5S, what is it? Standard work. TPM, standard work. Having a milk round. Standard work. Setup reduction, single minute. Exchange of dies. What is it? It's standard work. So all of these things are standard work. And then one of the things we talk about is, level scheduling. And what is it? Well, it's standard work. And this has to come first, because without this, none of this works. None of the other things that you're trying to do will actually work. And you won't tend to want to do this. Well, SMED is probably the least affected by level scheduling. You won't want to do it because what you'll want to do is just build bigger batches. Yeah, you go, we don't have to do SMED, we'll just build bigger batches. And you destroy your customer service if you do that. So let's talk about why level scheduling has to come first. Let's start at the top. 5S. What's the sort of things you're going to do in 5S? What standard work are you going to do? Well, you're going to define things like the layout, which is going to include, of course, areas, defined areas for input and output materials. Okay, so let's just stick with that for a second. So you're doing 5S, you're trying to create a standard layout so that you can apply standard work. But of course, when you come to do this, when you come to make this calculation, what are you going to ask? Well, you're going to ask, so how much material do I need? How do I calculate what area I'm going to need? Well, what happens next? This famous phrase will pop up. And someone will say, well, it depends. Well, it depends on what? Well, it depends on what the plan says. Because if the plan asks for a lot of something, you might need a big area for input material. If the plan asks for a little of something, you might need very little area for input material. And don't forget, one of the things that you're going to do, one of the things that's standard work when you're doing any kind of warehouse, any kind of work in progress. So warehousing and storage, what do you have? fixed locations, fixed quantities, standard work in your warehouse, standard work for handling your work in progress, standard work for handling inputs and outputs. But you're going to go fixed location. Well, how much space do I need? Well, it depends. It depends on what the batch size is, because if you change the batch size, if you constantly change the plan, the purchasing system will buy a bucket load of material for the next order, then the next plan is a small amount and it will have a small amount of. Nobody wants to do this when this is swinging around. So I cannot do standard work here while this doesn't have standard work. Just isn't possible, because everybody says it depends. I cannot do standard work here when this swings around. Same problem. Raw materials are coming and going in varying quantities. It is impossible to do standard work here when you don't have standard work here. What else have we got? TPM. Well, again, standard work. You know, we need to be able to do standard maintenance at standard times, etc. And of course, what are people going to do? You're going to say, well, how much time have we got to do total productive maintenance? Someone will go, well, it depends. Well, what does it depend on? Depends on the schedule, because sometimes we've got a heavy schedule, sometimes we've got a light schedule, and the schedule's doing this, so you can't do this correctly. The milk round. The thing about the milk round is it has a repetitive time usually. So it comes round at repetitive times, just like the milkman. Every morning at 6 o'clock, the milkman used to deliver in the UK. And because it has repetitive times, because it's got to pick up what's needed at that particular moment. So let's say it's once an hour. Now again, if the schedule is all over the place, these hourly deliveries probably don't make any sense. And sometimes they're delivering a bucket load of material, sometimes they're delivering no material, because the schedule is moving around. Nothing works in Lean, while this is have a hunch, build a bunch. It's got to go. And what you've got to do is very simple. Everybody says my demand changes. Yes, we know that demand isn't actually identical all the time, but you cannot predict this blue line. There is no point running your MRP and trying to predict this. It is a random number. It's like trying to win the lottery. It's absolutely impossible. Everybody says, I wish I had a better forecast. And the reason why they say that is because they're trying to forecast the blue line. Don't try and do that. It's very simple. Take the average through your demand. Plan the average. What does that create? Standard work. So every week you set up a plan that says, I'm going to make 50 of part A, 50 of part A, 50 of part A. Bang, bang, bang. Then I can do this. 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 Lean only works with standard work. Lean only works when standard work starts in the planning department. And unless you do that, your Lean implementation will be words only, and you'll never get the optimized, just cash building company that you're trying to create. Start with level scheduling, then put standard work in, create a Lean system with even, fast, flowing materials through your factory, and you'll just make bucket loads of cash. I mean, it's frightening how much money you could make. Do standard work, but start with standard work in your planning department.